Hey guys, GHAZZY here with another Path of Exile video leading into 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors. I'm going to talk about the ascendancy changes that they introduced for the Guardian. Couple of big changes, especially to Bastion of Hope, providing block to your minions and a little bit lower value, but more consistently being able to be sustained, making it very, very effective. I think this is the biggest and best change that they have for the Guardian ascendancy. However, the removal of the modifiers that we got from Radiant Crusade and Unwavering Crusade were very, very detrimental for the ascendancy itself. Instead, they are completely clearing off everything, and we're only getting these minions. Now, we've been waiting for the information of these minions. I'm going to do a little quick recap of them and explain why it is a very, very sad moment. The loss from the old modifiers was about 40% increased attack, cast, and movement speed, 30% AoE, and free intimidate and unnerve on enemies on top of 20% of resistances. These are incredible modifiers that was just stripped away. And with those in mind, the Necromancer was clearly the better choice for 95% of minion builds in the game. Instead, the first ascendancy node, the Radiant Crusade, gives us the Sentinel of Radiance, which is a 20-second duration minion, which has the same base HP as a level 20 Stone Golem, or very similar, but 100 HP difference. You cannot support these minions. They have a cast time slightly faster than a raised zombie, but they only last for 20 seconds. They have a Righteous Fire-like ability, which will burn for 30% of its maximum life per second. And in your ordinary Dominating Blow builds, this would be the equivalent of about 11,000 DPS burn rate, Righteous Fire from the minion. But since you can't support it, it's just completely irrelevant to even have. It will have a 100% chance to taunt enemies and hit, so it's going to literally take the aggro of enemies, and they will eventually die. Stone Golems with 40,000 HP, they tend to die as well, as mainly because we don't really support them that well, and we can't support this, so they will die, meaning you have to resummon them quite often. Outside of this, they do take 10% of the damage from hits that you would be taking onto the life of the minion instead, which is a good defensive layer. But the really cool part of these, both of these minions for that matter, is that they will scale with a level equal to yours, capping at level 85. I think this is a great way to make them not broken or overpowered early on and make them able to scale into the higher levels. With that said, I think that Sentinel of Radiance is equivalent to the meme. I don't like it. It's shit, but it's even worse than that. I think that it's weird to me that they would introduce things that would just present a nuisance for players to resummon this half-ass useless minion that essentially is only there to soak up 10% of damage taken from hits. But since it is a temporarily summoned minion with a base duration of 20 seconds, Guardian minion builds, they don't go for minion duration, whereas the Necromancer gets 50% through the nodes leading into Mystical Sacrifice, which we don't get as a Guardian. I just feel like the Sentinel Radiance is... It feels like they're just spitting in the face of minion players that wants to go Guardian, because this is not it. The loss of the Radiant Crusade nodes that we had before was a massive loss, and this is what we get for it. On to the more attractive one. Keep in mind you can only have one of those. The attractive one would be the Unwavering Crusade node, giving us now nothing but this minion. And this is a Summon Elemental Relic, and we are led to believe and assuming that we are going to be able to have 3 of these. They have a 0.3 second cooldown. They explode on death, dealing 100% of their life as the equivalent element that they have, which is quite massive, but this is not something we can scale with because of how the mechanic works. There's a 25% chance to trigger this skill when you or a nearby ally kill an enemy or hit a rare or unique enemy, which is a great way to actually summon them. So after hitting an enemy for 1, maybe 1.5 seconds, if you're unlucky, you're going to have all 3 elements, which is anger, hatred, and wrath. These relics will follow you, but don't actually attack enemies. Instead, they will provide an aura, either so being anger, hatred, or wrath. So if we have all 3, we're going to have all 3 elements. And if you are summoning the same element again, if you trigger it and it spawns a cold version giving you hatred, and the next hit that you summon will give you another cold, it won't kill them and replace it. It will instead just refresh the duration, which is a base duration of 5 seconds. These will also scale to your level. I'm assuming that the aura and their HP will be scaled based on your level. And we are just assuming that we're getting level 20 auras out of this, which are obviously not scaled from our aura efficiency nodes. So these will just be a generic level 20 aura gem. And this is the only interesting one out of the changes to the Guardian Ascendancy node outside of Bastion of Hope. So what's really good with this then? Well, the fact that we can get 3 very cool offensive auras for elemental base damage output is really, really good. However, They're unscaled. We're assuming they're level 20. They're very short duration. You need to hit enemies for a minimum of 1 second, level 0.9 seconds if you're triggering it, pitch, frame perfect. But assume about a 1.5 second of hitting an enemy before the spawns. But with the amount of minions or allies that you have hitting enemies, that should not be a problem. The problem though with this is the loss of the powers we had before is so significant that the only reliably efficient option that we have that we can use this for would be a mage skeleton build that uses all 3 elements, but we can't really properly scale it by using these Rs because you only get 1/3 of it. But this node allows you to actually benefit from this. Obviously, we'll have to take a look at the elemental versions of, animate weapons, maybe not SRS, but animate weapon, Zoomancer approaches, and that type of change of command, for example. We'll have to look at those. But since the current style of the meta of minion builds and also outside of minion builds is very hard pitched towards physical damage and poison damage, it's kind of on the, it's kind of an underdog already. However, we just spent, at the time of this recording, a little calculation on the mage skeletons, and it does turn out to come out on top on the high budget version, at least for mage skeletons, with a couple of million DPS. This is after, I'm assuming it's level 20 Rs, but after you've summoned all 3 Sentinel, the Holy Relics. So, I mean, it definitely, mage skeletons will now be definitely on the higher budget, be played as a Guardian, that's for sure. The problem with that is that mage skeletons, despite the gem information and all of those details with fresh meat and all of that, just doesn't really get the numbers that I would like compared to the budget invested to get to this PUB that I'm showing on the screen right now. You get an average of around 30 million Shaper DPS out of this build. It's definitely going to be playable and definitely going to be fun to play for the people that want that. I just don't think it's enough. But for those of you that want to play Mage Skeleton build, Guardian is to play. That's basically the only result from the Ascendancy changes. So to a quick recap, I think this is completely dog shit. I just don't understand why this would be designed the way it is. This is very limiting, and I feel like the Bastion of Hope changes were so good that when we then see this information, it just feels like they were on the right path to create this really cool scenario where we would actually be considering to play a Guardian for our minion builds instead of only playing Necromancer 24/7. And then when we see this information, it's like you took the right path, and then for some reason you just turned around and walked the other way. I don't get it. It just feels so weird to see this. I like this. I like the idea of it. But because of the fact that this is the only thing you're getting, the Ascendancy nodes themselves are just vastly inferior compared to what they did before. That's my takes on the Guardian Ascendancy changes now that we have most information regarding the skills. Hope you guys like this video. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, subscribe for more content. Stay safe and keep rocking.